What's cracking? Today's project is to put some fog lights on the truck. This is partly inspired by taking the bull bar off of my old truck and finding that it did fit this slightly later model. And I now have attachment points for fog lights. Now there's a couple reasons that I want to put these on, logical reasons, far beyond it's just going to look cool. So let me walk you through a little bit of my thought process. If you're not interested in this part of the discussion, then skip forward to where I am sitting at my workbench in the garage, at which point I will be discussing wiring. So a few years ago I went on a LED kind of headlight craze, and it started with this truck. I had it to do some work on the front end suspension and steering components, and I was driving it one night and realized I couldn't see. I just was not getting a lot of feedback from the headlights. I ordered new lenses, which these are glass and are not supposed to tarnish or yellow over time like the plastic would do and had done. And then I also upgraded to, at that point, to some LED bulbs. And the improvement was so drastic that I started getting LED headlights for all the vehicles that I utilized. Then when I got the Jeep had wiring from the factory for fog lights. The fog lights were missing, but I thought that I would put some on, and I ordered from a reputable company some, they were described as fog lights. They were a white light, and I hooked them up and used them. They were really nice and bright. They did what they were supposed to do. And I also upgraded the fog lights in my everyday driver car and to LEDs. And I found that the LEDs were little to non-helpful at all in their fog light position. I had turned the fog lights on and barely even noticed that lights came on. And as far as driving in the fog or the rain, they were practically useless. But it didn't dawn on me at that time what the issue was. When I really figured out what was going on was actually back to the Jeep. Last year, I was headed up to the homestead during the holiday season and got caught in a snowstorm on the way. And for about an hour, I was driving in some pretty heavy snow. And I had my headlights on, LED of course, and my fog lights. And I could not see past the nose of the Jeep. And I got home and I got to the homestead and I was exhausted from just my whole body being tense with the situation. I was leaning forward in an effort to try to see better. And it was one of those snowstorms that was covering the road. The plows hadn't been out yet, so I was just trying to stay on the freeway at 30 miles an hour. And I felt like I was at warp speed with the snow coming back at me. So I came home and thought there's got to be something that can help you see better, because I had all the brightness you could ask for, and that wasn't any help. So I started doing some research, and initially I came across the idea that halogen lights penetrate better than LED lights. LED are inherently reflective, and they reflect off of things. But further research led me to the understanding that it's actually more about the color of the lights, the K scale, than the light function itself. And there's a reason that fog lights, going back decades, have been amber or yellow. And it's because that color does not reflect off of things like white light does. So my problem in the Jeep wasn't the brightness, it was the color of the lights. It was hitting the snow and coming right back at me. So that's why I couldn't see past the nose of the Jeep, because that's where the lights were, that's where the reflection was stemming from. And so I invested in a amber or yellow light. It's really a light that has a yellow lens, but for just sake of brevity, from here on out, I'm going to refer to it as amber, as that is kind of the normal nomenclature for fog lights. So I acquired some amber lights and I put them on the Jeep. That was after the snow had subsided, so I haven't had a chance to see how they do there. But I can say the improvement in heavy rain and fog is marvelous. And bonus side note is I've been off-roading, and as it has started getting dark, my amber fog lights become helpful much sooner than my regular headlights do. They illuminate things in the dusk before it gets dark, whereas my LED headlights, the wider lights, it has to be mostly dark for them to really be much help. And I think the combination of the two colors makes it so that a lot more things kind of pop out as you're driving. So for off-roading, I love having them both on. I can see so much better. I then got some amber lights for the car, LED amber lights, and replaced the fog lights in that, and that was also a big improvement. When I turn them on now, I can see the increased brightness, and they have worked really well in the rain and such. So this truck is used by a lot of family members, and often in snowy conditions, as it is four-wheel drive. And so I think having an amber hue available can be a big help for this vehicle and how it is used. And that's one of the reasons I want to put them on now that I have a place to put them. With that said, I have acquired the same amber fog lights that I put on the Jeep that I've been really happy with. I got them off of Amazon. I'll put a link in the description. And it came as pretty much a ready-to-go kit that does need a few minor modifications. Let's go inside and discuss wiring. I have this panel in my truck with the cargo lamp and this exact switch in there. I wanted a switch that matched this decor, so I started looking around. I looked for a whole new panel that had the fog light in it. Now let's talk about the wiring. The kit came with a wiring harness that I will show you in a moment, and that wiring harness included this switch, which I did know it came with a switch, but I wanted one that matched the decor of the truck, so something original like this. This switch has 5 wires in the back, and I found in a forum this diagram that was about 80% helpful. It labels, as you can see, the different wires, and they were all accurate. However, where it was not so helpful is that 2 of the wires, which it labeled as switch A and switch B, that's not the kind of information that's helpful to me. What I needed to know and how my mind processed that is which one is the power in and which one is power out. It wasn't hard to figure that out, but it would have been a little more helpful if it had been marked that way. So, of the 5 wires, black is ground, as you would expect. The gray one right here illuminates the fog light label right here. Now I found in my testing that that bulb is apparently burned out, and it is soldered directly to a circuit board behind this panel, and that is outside my area of comfort to replace, so I'm not going to worry about that one. I'm going to leave it. If you wanted them lit up, you would simply connect that gray wire to one of your related dash panel lighting sources. Then we have the purple wire back here, and the purple wire lights up the little amber rectangle light in the middle. There's two ways you could hook that up. You could wire that so that it also turns on with your dash panel lights, but in my case I wanted it to turn on and or off with the switch being on or off. So when my lights are on, that light is on. When my lights are off, that light is off. Therefore, I needed to connect that to the power out source. So that's why these two are together, which tells you that the brown wire is my power out, and that leaves the yellow wire as my input, power input. And that makes sense because a lot of yellow wires are a hot, kind of consistent wire. Last night I added the spades on so that I could connect it to the wiring harness that came with the lights. On the switch it is replacing, there are 3 wires, as you can see. And they have a black ground, as you would expect, red and white. And I figured red was power in and white was power out. I tested that, and that is accurate. So all I need to do is connect ground to ground, my red wire to my yellow, and my double wire here, the power out, goes to the lights. From there, the lights are pretty much ready to install. I do have another modification that I have to make, a simple one. So here is the wiring harness that comes with this light kit. There's a relay here at the top. Now let's talk about that hookup for just a moment. Initially, I had decided that I wanted the relay to run off of an ignition source because I couldn't imagine a time that I would want these lights on when the truck wasn't running. So having them attached to an ignition source seemed right. What I do not want is them to be connected to the headlights, which is the case with both my Jeep and my car that came with factory installed fog lights. I don't like that because, going back to my winter driving adventure last year, I think it would have been nice with that bright light reflecting off the snow if I was able to turn those off and have amber lights simply by themselves. That would have been the best scenario in that particular case. Like I said, there's times that I like running both, but in that case I would like to be able to pick and choose. So I want there to be some independence to the fog lights. It is tradition to have them hooked to the headlights. So that's just not my favorite thing. So I was going to hook them up via an ignition source and a relay. But in light of how this wiring harness is already set up, I can hook it up without having to go through that hassle, and it'll work just as well. All it means is that I can turn it on with the vehicle off because the relay is connected to the switch. So as soon as you turn the switch on, it kicks on the relay. and then everything lights up. That said, let me walk you through the harness here. It all comes together somewhere behind this shrink wrap, and we've got the connection to the battery fused on the positive end. There is a 15 amp fuse installed, and they sent extra fuses. I haven't looked at them. There's at least another 15. There's some other ones too. Then down at the other end we have a bifurcated or a split connection that connects to the lights themselves, positive and negative for each light. Then the other end that was connected to the switch. Now I do have to replace these female ends because they are narrower than the spades that I have here in my shop. And that's not really a big deal, because the other modification I have to make to this is that this wire is not nearly long enough to get into the cab and meet my switch where I want it. So I need to elongate these wires, and since I have to replace these anyway, I think what I will do is just clip these off, attach whatever length of wire I need to each one. I hope I can use different colors, but I may be limited to the same color. Well, we'll see what happens with that. And then just put the new spades on. So I will do a butt connection on these with a solder stick type of thing, and then on the other end do the matching female end to the switch. I think the first thing I'm going to do is go attach the lights to the bull bar. One more note about the kit. So this is the light I got, rectangle, which should match the lights on the truck really well, but they come with a bare wire at the end of the lights. The wiring is soldered, but there's not a lot cut off, so you probably will need to strip it back a little bit more. But they include, so there's the spare fuses, and they include spades to attach to that, which correspond with the ends on the lighting harness. Maybe a minor annoyance why they wouldn't just put a spade on these to just hook directly up, but that's really not a big deal. So, and of course it also comes with the hardware to attach to the truck. So let's go out to the bull bar, grab some wrenches, and show you how to put these on. Here are the lights and the hardware. A note on the lights is that the wiring is the same on both of them, so there's not a left or right, and that works well for this truck because they both head towards the battery, which is where the wiring will come from. The hardware, we have 2 short bolts and 2 long bolts. Both of them have the same head, which was a 9/16, which you really only need for the short ones because the longer ones lock into the brackets, so they aren't going to spin. So you just need, well, I guess you will need something to tighten the nut on the other side, which is the same size. And then there's 4 flat washers and 2 lock washers, so a pair for each bolt. Now these brackets, there is embedded in the light itself the other nut. It won't come out of there. The bracket goes on this way, bolt goes through the slot, and then you can angle the lights up and down. And then of course the bottom slot is what goes into your attachment point on your bumper, or in my case this bull bar. Now I have these holes are from the factory came that big, and they would hold the bolt, but just barely. And I'm not thrilled about that. The bolt or the nut. I guess the bolt will be going through this way, so it would be the nut. So I dug through my stuff, and I happened to find a 2-pack of some nice big 3/8 by 1 1/4 inch, and they are stainless. These will work fantastic. I'll put that on the bottom side, and then the nut, and that should hold really well. You do not need washers for the top side, obviously, because that locks into the bracket. So no washer needed there. And there you have it. The raw lights, for lack of a better term, are installed. I can adjust them a little bit and may do so as needed. So the next thing to do is get the spade connectors on the lights themselves, and then figure out where I'm going to feed the wiring through the grill. I'm now going to get the switch ready to go, so I'm going to go in the cab. I think this yellow with red stripe wire might be the cargo light, if I remember correctly. And so we did go through that same one. And that said, that may be easier to push through from this side and find it in the engine bay than the other way around. So I think I'll try that. I dug through a box. I grabbed this harness from the junkyard off of another XJ, like my Jeep, and I just have it kind of for spare wiring. And so I went through and found 2 colors that I like. I've got yellow with a black tracer and brown with a blue tracer. And I picked these colors because they will correspond with the original switch we have already discussed. So my yellow will be power in and brown will be power out. So I've already put the end on the black one. I'll do the other 2, and then we'll go start fishing some wires through. Somehow I should be able to get this harness out of the back, at which point I can swap the faceplates. I looked at the one in the garage that came on the other faceplate and found how to disconnect it. There's a piece up here on the top. Mine's partially broken off, but that is a tab. You push that down, and then this unit disconnects and just slips out the back. So it's pretty easy. I'll just use a screwdriver. There's probably enough still on there I could do it with my fingers, but I don't need to hurt my fingers that way when I've got a screwdriver right here. So we'll do that and then swap the faceplate. Okay, I've got the wires fed through. Just be cautious that there is a bar separating the 3 pieces. So make sure you get your wiring. I'm talking about that one right there. So make sure you feed your wiring through the right way. But I've got that through, so we can put this panel back in place. Maybe I might need 2 hands to do that. Oh, there it goes. It's twisting, so I'll probably need 2 hands to do that. And then I fed it through, followed the cargo light wire, and as you can see, I've got it even through the firewall. So the hard part is mostly done, assuming that those wires were long enough and that I can find them, which there they are right there with the red tape on them. So get that Feeding through right there. Boom. So I've got them. So now I just need to that other wire, the original harness, should now reach from the battery. I think I should be able to just go along the back side, follow the wiring harness of the vehicle, and butt splice it to these. Alright, my extension is connected. Got all three. I saw the solder inside disperse, and so I'm feeling pretty good about that. So now I just need to run this line question is to go behind the brake booster or just underneath. I don't want it going over the top of the distributor because there's a lot of electrical pulses there, so I'll probably follow that wiring harness that goes in front of it, so under the air cleaner and out, and then from there I should be able to connect to the other one. I ended up removing one of the headlights, which was easy, just these two long bolts through these two ports. Pulled that out and I ran the wiring. I don't know if I can get you in there. You can just barely see it right there. So it kind of behind the bracket, and then it comes out to the grill right there, and I'm hooked up. There's some excess right here. I'll probably zip tie and attach to something, but I'll just tuck it for now. So I'm going to reinstall the headlight, and then from there all I have to do is hook up the lines to the battery and test it. So we are just about there. I think we're there. I've got the positive hooked up to the positive. There wasn't a good way to connect to the negative with this side attachment style, and so I just went to put it in with some of the other grounds that are on the body, which should work just fine. We'll find out in a moment. But one of my next upgrades on this vehicle will be to change these battery connections to a post type and get a post battery, which are supposed to be better, have better connections. But that is for another time. So right now we are there. I'm going to test it, and assuming that it works, then I'll just zip tie these together. I will need to attach the relay to the side wall over here, but that is an easy thing to do. I just need to get a self-tapping screw, which I do not believe I have any available at the moment. But let's go give this a try. Okay, I shouldn't even need to turn it on. Let's just hit the switch. Boom! Switch is working. I have fog lights. And make sure they are both working. So I'll have to drive it and then maybe make some adjustments to the angles, but otherwise this project is done. I'm just going to put the faceplate back in place, and we're there. Success. Thanks for watching. If you wouldn't mind, take a moment, like, make a comment, or subscribe to my channel. And thanks for coming along on this journey. I'll see you on the next one.